I'm going to provide some different strategies and tools that are going to help you get there. The top CEOs in the world have success coaches or professional coaches so that they can continue to work through their leadership. Coaching is a really valuable tool.
Welcome to Rise Up For You TV. My name is Lauren Sweeney. I am our Vice President and our host. Our team has worked with thousands of individuals and organizations around the globe to help the leaders move the needle, to help organizations build sustainable culture, and to help you in your self-confidence, your influential communication, and your transformative leadership abilities. I'm very excited because today we have our CEO and founder, Nada Lena Nasserdeen. She is here to talk all about coaching. Why does coaching move the needle, and how does it work? And what are the most important things I need to do to be an effective coach? So let's bring her on. Nada, welcome to the stage.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to be here. Honored to be here. It's nice to be in the other side of the seat when we're doing, the podcast and Rise Up For You TV. So excited to see what questions you brought today, Lauren.
Absolutely. I'm excited as well. Nada, you're definitely an expert in coaching. I was a client of yours, as many of our team members were before I started working here. And then I've seen you coach and train many individuals. And today, as I mentioned, we're focusing on coaching. Yeah. I do think it is a skill that is unique, and I've seen it move the needle. So I'd like to talk about a few different things today about that subject. Before I do, though, I'm really excited. Can I tell them about something that's been in the works for a long time?
Oh, you mean the thing? Yes, you could tell them about
Can I tell them about it? Okay, because we're live, Nada. This is not recorded. This is live. So, okay. This has been in the works for a little while now, and we're really excited about it. So this is called our Power Up Assessment. It's an organizational assessment, and you can see it here on the screen. It's really, really, really amazing. So what happens is there's 20 different questions that as a leader, you can go through and assess your organization, because you probably know that we have confidence and emotional intelligence and individual assessments, but this Power Up Assessment goes through and assesses your team in self-confidence, emotional intelligence, transformational leadership, and influential communication are 4 pillars from our Power Up method. After you take it, it usually takes about 5 minutes. Then it gives you these amazing results. And the results are really profound because they're able to help you move the needle. So I know you're wondering, where's the link, Lauren? How do I take this assessment? So here it is. You just go to powerup.riseupforyou.com and it instantly will give you results. And it will show you, where does my team need to grow? So for example, you can see here, this team got a 41%. And you can see, well, they might be kind of balanced. Their top challenge really was self-confidence. You can see that in the gray bar at the top. So this gives you your overall score, and then it gives you resources. So here you can see in self-confidence, there's teams scored below a 40%. So then we have a video, we have recommended reading, we have next step recommendations, we have tools. Look, I see some famous people on the toolbox there. And we have these resources for each of the 4 pillars. So you can see an EQ, transformational leadership, they got a 36%, influential communication was a 44%, and then you can even send these results to a stakeholder, somebody on your board of directors, or perhaps if you're an HR director, you might want to send it to your CEO or another executive. So we're very excited about it, and we encourage you to take it, this brand new tool, and let's get back to coaching. All right. This is very exciting.
I'm excited about the assessment because data is so important. And I think that one of the things that we're the most proud of here at the company is the fact that we have been able to take the most critical skills and put them in a framework that is digestible for any person, whether you're an entry-level team member, supervisory level, or C-suite level. Being able to take self-confidence, emotional intelligence, transformational leadership, influential communication, put it in a program, put it in a framework, really build an ecosystem ecosystem around it, that coaching, training, retreats, all those things can be done around this framework, I think it's a game changer around these skills. Because, Lauren, so much of what we hear is soft skills aren't measurable. Well, today they are with Rise Up For You, and we're really proud about that.
I agree. And then the neat thing would be that after you do programming, whether you do it with us, that would be recommended, or you do it internally, then to take it again, maybe in 6 months, and to see, we moved the needle on self-confidence with our team members, but we didn't move the needle on influential communication. That's where we need to focus these next 6 months. So I think it's a game changer for those in learning and development and HR in particular, because sometimes you just need some support, and we want you to be we're your resource really to help you in building a successful program.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's dive in today. And I want to start with a question that we get pretty often. How is coaching different from, let's say, being a life coach, being a therapist? I would consider us like strategic coaches or leadership development coaches, but how would you describe it, Nada? When we say we're coaches, how does that make us different from what maybe people are more familiar with?
Okay, that's a really great question. So I'm going to break it down from like therapy to coaching, let's say. And I always like to use the fitness industry as an example because I think it's really easy to understand. Think of the fitness industry. You have nutritionists, right? That typically they go to school for nutrition. There's some research and definitely body of medical research behind nutrition and what each person's body needs, right? And then you have like a fitness trainer that goes to school maybe or gets their certificate and just like training the body and kinesiology and movement and fitness and that kind of thing. So think of therapy kind of like the nutritionist. It's backed by medical research, okay? It's considered to be in the medical field, and oftentimes the therapists, aka the nutritionists, are giving you the plan, right? So it's like, here's what works for your body. Let's talk through these things, and then I'm going to give you medical research and strategies and help move you through this situation. Now think of coaching as, I'm not going to give you all of the answers. I'm not going to do the work for you, but I'm going to stand next to you and I'm going to provide some different strategies and tools that are going to help you get there. So when I just recently hired a fitness trainer, a fitness coach, the coach is not going to do the push-ups with me, right? Or whatever it is they give me, they're going to talk with me. They're going to ask me, what are my goals? What do I want to get out of this fitness program? And then, okay, let's try some exercises. Let's see what feels good for you. Let's drive the results. And I'm going to help you understand the exercise, but I'm not going to do the work for you. You got to show up. You got to do the work. And so performance coaching for such a long time had a stigma, right? Even today we hear people like, I don't need a coach. And it's, Michael Jordan needed a coach and he was the best NBA basketball player of all time. The top CEOs in the world have success coaches or professional coaches so that they can continue to work through their leadership. And so I would say that actually the top performers have coaches. And so if you're looking to elevate and grow in your leadership, in your skills, in your business, whatever the area is that you're looking for that's directly related to like the profession, the career, the coach is going to help you get there. I mean, I have a business coach, I have a nutritional coach, and I have a fitness coach. See, they're like two different things, right? And they all help me get to the outcome that I want to get to.
I love that. I think that's a great way to kind of break it down. And you're so right. We definitely would never question having a coach in the sports world, in the physical world. However, sometimes people are like, well, I don't need a coach as a leader, as an executive. Why would I need a coach? When we do, it will just help us get to the next level. I also, of course, have, a coach that helps me as a leader, helps me see blind spots, that type of thing.
And coaching, and just one more thing, coaching it's not about the coach giving you the answer. It's about the coach asking you really intuitive questions that help you get to the answer and reflect and critically think on your own. So, and that's really, really critical. The only time a coach helps you get there is if you really don't have the tool. If you're having a hard time struggling to find the answer, then it's the coach's job to maybe present some thoughts or ideas that you can then choose from, but still in an intuitive way, versus saying, okay, here's what you're going to do. Step 1 is this, step 2 is that, right? That's not coaching. And so it's really important that the coachee, so the person on the other side of the coach, is able to come up, reflect, be a critical thinker, and find the answers in the path on their own. And that's very empowering. coaching, because they are really the ones taking ownership of their growth and success with the facilitation of the coach.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of coaching, let's pivot to, let's say you're an HR leader in an organization and you're in charge of, let's say, developing some of your leaders. How in a corporate setting would you coach an individual without maybe overstepping any sort of boundary? How do you think in a corporate setting, if you're internally doing coaching, you can be the most effective?
That's a really good question. So I'm going to start with giving a blanket statement that's not contingent upon corporate or outside of corporate. In order to be a great coach, you have to have an element of, I'm not here to be your friend. It doesn't matter if you like me. You got to have a little bit of that. It's like I always say when I was a teacher, before I built the company, I always started the school year by telling the students in the college, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to provide you with the best education possible. And sometimes there's going to be lessons and there's going to be things that we do that you just don't want to do. And that's fine. I'm not here to people please and to just say yes to everything you want. It's my job to help you get to the end of the lesson at the end of the year so you can graduate and get to the next session, right? The next class. You got to have that element as a coach, because your job as a coach is to help them get to the outcome and get to the results, right? And sometimes you're going to say things or push the coachee in a way that feels uncomfortable for them. And they might be like, I don't want to do that. And then you have to remember to say, obviously with emotional intelligence, okay, do you want to get the results or do you want to keep doing the same thing over and over again that potentially is going to lead you to nowhere? And so going back to the corporate space, you got to get clear on what the outcomes are, right? So like, what is the point of coaching and where's the path that we're trying to take? And if anything is not in alignment with that path, we call that noise, right? I'm sure many of us that are listening have heard the concept signal versus noise. So if it's not directly taking you to the outcome that you want from a coachee perspective, then it's noise. And we got to like push that to the side and we got to get back on track and back on the road. And so I can understand your question around sometimes when you're doing coaching, it can go down a path that maybe is a little bit more personal or it can lead to something that's more traumatic. And it's the coaches. I do this all the time. And I know that we've taught our trainers and coaches at Rise Up for you to do this too. If it goes down that path, it's our job to say, I completely hear you. I understand. I am not a trained therapist. I'm not in psychology. And that is for that space and that realm. My highest recommendation is to seek resources that can really help you with that, right? Whether it's like childhood trauma or whatever. My goal is to really use the emotional intelligence and the transformative leadership and the influential communication and help coach you through that, right? Now, that's not to say that we can't lightly touch upon it, but as a coach, if you don't have a therapeutic background or a psychological background, you can get into a lot of trouble by taking somebody into a traumatic state because you might not know how to get them out of it.
Absolutely. I really like too that you said you have to be willing to say risky things and say things for the outcome, that it's not about them liking you. It's not about, it's really not about you. It's really about the person that you're coaching. However, we have to know the end in mind.
Yeah. And you have to use your emotional intelligence enough as a coach to know who's sitting across from you. So like I always ask for permission. When I have a coachee that's talking in circles that I can see is avoiding, what needs to get done, I always say like, do I have permission to be honest with you and just be a straight shooter? And of course, all my coachees trust me, right? So they're like, tell it to me honest. I'm not here for crap. Like I'm paying you. And then I'm like, great. You're talking in circles. You're avoiding the question, right? I want you to reflect upon that. Why do you feel like there's hesitation? Why is there resistance? Because, and sometimes in the coaching world, they say, don't use why, like don't ask why, but it really depends on the relationship of the person across from you, right? Because the person across from you might need the why question, right? They might need you to be like, come on, like get to the core of it. And so again, it just depends on who's sitting across from you. My coaches tend to be more assertive leaders of companies. They're not super sensitive when it comes to things, right? Like they want results and they're high performing. And so I can have more of those assertive conversations. But if you're working with an entry-level team member or somebody that is really struggling with self-confidence, you're not going to use the same tone, the same language. And as a coach, you have to be highly emotionally intelligent to understand that.
Absolutely. All right. I have one last question for you. And that is, how do you know which tools to use as a coach? I've seen you use role play really effectively. I feel like you definitely use your emotional intelligence and rely on intuition. And I know that we have our Rise Up For You certification where we do teach a lot of these tools. But if somebody's listening and they are coaching currently in a corporate setting, or maybe they'll have their own business or what have you, how do you know what tools to use? And how did you even learn them?
That's a great question. And the answer that I'm going to give is not cookie cutter. It's, you got to be educated as a coach. Like, you have to be equipped with a whole tool belt of tools, and you got to know those tools. So, for you and me, Lauren, and our trainers and the people that we certify, we basically, like, here's a whole bucket of tools. Here's the whole list. And so then from there, you're able to decide and decipher, oh, the coachee is talking about the fact that they don't have people around them that are supportive. Great. Well, I'm going to pull out the choosing your counsel tool, the tool that helps them find a counsel and understand what the personal counsel is. And then that's like their homework, right? Or somebody, let's say a coachee is talking about not feeling like they're proud of their life, and they just feel stuck and they don't feel like they know where they're going. Okay, well, in my toolbox, I have the 6 pillars to success that talks about building a whole life around romance and money and health. Why don't we pull that out and let's look at that and assess that? And so the short answer is as a coach, continue to build knowledge, continue to build your toolbox of tools and study those tools, because then it becomes like second nature. When somebody's sitting across from you and you hear a challenge, you're like, okay, I have an exercise that we can do, right? I do a lot of role play because a lot of times the coachee is struggling to find the words to have conversations. A lot of coachees come to us, and you know this, Lauren, because maybe there's conflict with their C-suite, or there's conflict with their team leader, or there's conflict with their peer. And so they struggle to find the words at work to have critical conversations. And so role play allows them to practice the conversation as if they're doing it in real time, so that when they do it in real time, they've already been there. They're like, okay, I remember this, I felt this, we practiced it, and now I have the language. And that's why role play is so important. It really just depends what the goals are of the coachee. And some of them come to us to build self-confidence, and some come because they want to communicate better. Role play would be very, stimulating in that situation. So it just depends.
Fantastic. Well, I so appreciate this conversation, and thank you for being here today on our Rise Up For You TV, Nada.
Yeah.
It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coaching is a really valuable tool, but I'm going to leave by saying this. The highest performers in the world have a coach, and the greatest coaches in the world have a coach. Our team coaches and trains, and the core team also has coaches that coach us, right? Because we believe in order for you to continue to pass on knowledge, you also got to be receiving knowledge, and you got to be the coachee too. Yesterday, I went to an event and I was the coachee. I had a coach me, and they said they were intimidated. Like, I'm intimidated to coach you because you coach. And I'm like, I'm not thinking that way. Like, just coach me. And when we got done, I was like, that was great. Like, I haven't been coached in a long time, and I found out some new things about myself. And so I think it's really important. And if anybody is interested in coaching or interested in training, and you want more structure, like more tools, then I highly recommend you check out our certification. The next one is happening in December in Las Vegas. And all these tools, all the books that you see behind me, all the materials, all the tools that you need to be a great coach and a great trainer, we are going to pass down to create that next generation of trainers and coaches for Rise Up For You that can go out there and make an impact in the world when it comes to the most important skills, and that's the soft skills.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it comes full circle to what we started with at the very beginning, talking about how we're able to assess them now with the Power Up assessment. And so it's been a pleasure having you on today. My name is Lauren Sweeney, and I'm your host for this special series from Rise Up For You TV on coaching. And today we got to talk with Nada Nasserdeen, our CEO and our founder, certainly an expert in coaching. And if you would like to find out more about that certification, simply head over to our website, riseupforyou.com. And don't forget, take this free 20-question Power Up assessment. It's quick and it's easy, but it will show you where there might be some gaps for yourself and your team. It's been a pleasure being here with you today. We will see you next time on Rise Up For You TV.